In the past, I've never had a lot of success working with DAZ Studio. I've often experienced a lot of crashes through the bridge, and also I find DAZ Studio a bit hard to work. I struggle with the interface. But as it's a stablemate of Bryce, I thought it might be worth having a look at it, because obviously it's a way to get some really good models into Bryce. So this is the icon on the create shelf that will hopefully launch DAZ Studio. Oh, it seems to have done, and then open it up. Now it's come up with this resource error because I've only installed DAZ Studio 4.5. I haven't installed any of the other components. I've just installed the base unit. I haven't installed any Genesis stuff, and so I wanted the library to be very simple. I've installed one other item, like a little alien figure. So I'm going to see if I can find him in the content. Ah, here he is. Excellent. So if I double click on him, that brings him into this view, and hopefully now I'll have an opportunity to pose him. So this allows me to navigate, I gather. What I want to do is put his finger down, whoop, lift his arm up. I'm not very proficient at posing, so you'll have to bear with me. So not used DAZ Studio a lot. A bit remiss of me, I know, but if it's not going to talk to Bryce, I'm not really that interested in it. So let's see. I want this finger to be pointing down, and then I want to get him, if I can, to look at his hand. So there's all kinds of controls, I'm sure. I'll have a go. There you go. Right, have I managed to get him looking at his hand, sort of? And if we can lift this hand up without everything else moving, it is a bit of a struggle. So I know at any moment that from experience, if I move something too far, the whole figure moves. I think it's got, I don't know what is it, some kind of linkage. This is KIIK. Anyway, it's some kind of built-in skeletal system that assists you with the posing up to a point, but then it can just go too far, and you find things move where you don't want them to. Right. So right, is he looking down at his hand? If I can get him sort of looking at his hand, that'll be close enough. You see, this is all very strange the way. But double click on that. How do I get this? I want a rotatey control. I wonder how I get a rotatey control. Sure, there must be some way. Pose, twist. See what happens when that's handy. Bend, twist back again. Right. So the interface is it's okay. I'm just not very familiar with it. So you know, compared to people who are really familiar with this interface, no doubt I can do up and down with these controls. That's handy. I'm getting the eyes pointed together though. That's right. So I've got him sort of looking at his hand, and I'm not going to worry about what this other hand's doing. Just imagine I spent ages posing this, and well, you can do, otherwise it'd be a bit boring just watching me fiddle with these controls ineptly. And if we go to File, and then I think there's a Send to Bryce button. There it is, Send to Bryce. So hopefully now, when I look in Bryce, I've got nothing on the nano preview, but if I give it a render, I've got my little alien. So what I'm going to do with this guy is I'm then going to use him in a scene that I've already created. Now I've got him posed how I fancied having him. So let's see. I can't quite see where his eyes are because of the position of the sun. I'll just move the sun around to see if that's going to work. Alright, if I put a light source in, I'll be able to see what I'm doing, hopefully, or see what he's doing. I'm just checking my pose here before I go on. Right, so he's looking down at his hand's on top of something, and I'm going to select him, go into the Create menu, and find an empty place to drop him into. So I'm just going to add him there into the object library. So now he's in the object library. I'm going to use a scene I've already made to save time. So in Bryce Tutorials, Bryce Downloads, you can find this scene under Bryce Pro Advanced Lighting 2. It's the first scene. We've got this is a true ambience render, but this is a Bryce 7 render, not a Bryce 7.1, so we'll be able to upgrade the lighting slightly at the click of a button. And there's an image-based lighting. I'm going to choose a true ambience, then I'll get to demonstrate two features in one go. So I'll launch the scene that I've got that in. It'll just take a little while to load. Now, as this is true ambience, if I go into render options and I drop the raise per pixel to the lowest level, that will allow it to render faster for just previewing. And I'll turn off TA focus scattering and switch on TA scattering correction, which is the new improved true ambience rendering mode that is now available in Bryce 7.1 Pro. And I'm going to bring in my pre-posed figure that I've just done, and then I'm going to use first of all I'll try and get him to an appropriate scale for the pose, but although I'm very familiar with this wireframe mode and it seems to be the easiest one to use to manipulate things, you can't quite see the details of whether or not, I can see the depth of field is interfering with the side view, so you can't quite see the details of how this complex figure is interacting with other things in the scene. So what I'm going to do is, if I go to the display modes and click and hold the left mouse button down, there's all these other display modes. I'm going to use one of the OpenGL displayed modes. This is the textured shaded mode. This mode is not as easy to pick things up and adjust them in the wireframe view. You tend to have to use these controls, but you do get a better idea of how things are interrelated in the scene because you've got this better preview. So I'm just trying to get it, so if I can find my camera view now. I know you're in there somewhere. Right, pull my camera back, right, and rotate my figure so he's facing the camera. And then what I'm trying to do is get his, so he's got his finger on top of the spark plug that's stood up. So I'll just use this adjustment here in the edit to try and get his finger over the top of that spark plug there, so it's like he's holding it up, and then try and work out whether, with these different views, he's actually in contact with it. I could lower him down slightly because he does seem to be floating. That'll put his finger on the right point, and then I'll reposition the camera view. Now obviously you can see that the texture in the background might be applied to a 2D face, or this could be an infinite plane, and I've no way of telling in this particular preview mode, as that's one of the drawbacks of this preview mode, is that the infinite planes don't extend infinitely. So there's pluses and minuses, and it's a bit more difficult to get hold of things in the wireframe view. I think that might be the horizon in this view, because I've never used this view very often. But for more complicated figure alignment like this, obviously it's very helpful. Right, so let's render what we've got here. So now that's not looking too bad. We just need to work out whether or not his finger's really on this spark plug, which it looks to be, and also can we get him in focus. So he's a selected object. I'll go into render options. We're already in the camera view. If I set current selection, it'll set the focal length to the center of the object, which is this little alien figure, so he'll be mostly in focus. If I wanted to get him exactly in focus, I would have to position maybe an invisible object where I wanted the exact focus is, set it to that, and then render. So now we've got our alien stood with these other things in the scene. I don't know whether his foot's clipping that spark plug. Again, this view's very handy for that. If I suspected it was, I could rotate him slightly and then move him back, so get his finger back on top of that spark plug there, and then I can be sure that the foot's not colliding with that spark plug. And as you can see, in a fairly short time, well, 10 minutes, I've set this scene up. And then the last thing to do with the true ambient render is we'll consider turning the raise per pixel right up, so it reduces the amount of noise in the render, although it will increase the render time. So let's, on the maximum raise per pixel that we can select for this, we'll see what the render time is, about 30 minutes. So if I pause the video there, and then we'll see what that looks like when we're done. Okay then, that's that done. In the end it didn't take as long as 30 minutes, but you always have to take these estimations for how long the render is going to take with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it can take much longer, particularly when you're using regular rendering mode, because the AA pass really makes a big difference as to how long the final render is going to take. With these premium effects renders, I've found that generally the estimation's a little bit over and it takes less time. Like I say, you can't make any guarantees on that. I think that I'll probably try and do a few more things with DAZ Studio in the future now that it's prepared to talk to Bryce. And like I say, I've always been impressed with the models available at DAZ3D.com. They always seem to be very good quality for the price. Well, it's very good quality full stop. I don't think the price has got anything to do with it, but it's nice if they're not too expensive too. So there you go.